I hope they spent the time going through the magazines to cut out the little letters for that entire
I wish that's how it looked. Hello everyone, my name's Naomi.
And my name's Kaylee.
And this is the Eerie Theories podcast.
We're going to talk about true crime, conspiracies, ghosts, and other strange and eerie topics.
Some of this may be NSFW or triggering since some of our topics can be unsettling or violent. We recommend listening with caution.
Thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoy the show.
So Chris Watts was like the biggest case that we've had in Colorado here in like a very long time. And I was talking to you last week, telling you about like the last case that was very big here in Colorado, and that's JonBenet Ramsey. And you said that you haven't heard about her, really?
Not really. I feel like maybe it was the timing of it, and since it's not a super big one, like the larger serial killers, it was never like publicized really.
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna do JonBenet Ramsey. It is, I'd say, not only like the biggest cold case in Colorado, but like the biggest cold case like probably in America. Like not biggest, but like one of the bigger ones that doesn't involve serial killers or things like that. So I got a lot of my information from Dateline 2020. I got some also from BuzzFeed Unsolved and a YouTuber named Kendall Ray. So this took place in Boulder, Colorado. So like, you know, a college town, a more rich type of town. Like it's just very eco-friendly type place here in Colorado.
Very hippie, crunchy.
Yeah, granola type. Yeah, exactly. So this took place in 1996. So that's also probably why you haven't heard that much of it. And actually this case started getting big, like I'd say here a few years ago. Netflix came up with a documentary called Casting JonBenet, and I watched part of it. I didn't finish it. But yeah, so it's gotten a lot of traction lately. And so this takes place in the Ramseys' 15-room mansion. So they came from money. So the family is made up of JonBenet. She was 6 years old at the time, and by 4, she started competing in beauty pageants. So she was, like that, pageant queen type little girl, and she, like, ever since she could, like, do anything. So that's all she's ever known. She won at least 5 high-profile beauty pageants by the time of her death. Like, she was highly decorated. She was very well known, especially in the community. Her older brother, Burke, was 9 years old. Her mother, Patsy, she was also in the pageant circuit. She was always a beauty queen. She loved the limelight. She was speculated to maybe be the reason why JonBenet even started beauty pageants at all. So yeah, she helped JonBenet throughout all that. She was definitely a pageant mom. And then John, her father, he was in the computer business. I'm not exactly sure what he did in computers or anything, especially like in the 90s, but I don't know. He was very, very big. He made a lot of money. And JonBenet's name actually came from combining his name, JonBenet, and making JonBenet. So, yeah. So the day of, so this takes place on Christmas night, 1996. So they had just gotten home late from a friend's party, and JonBenet, this is all according to the family, what happened. And so JonBenet was asleep when they got home. They took both her and Burke to bed, and then they all fell asleep. So just getting back from a Christmas party. And so December 26th, that morning, Patsy's the first one to get up. And she heads downstairs and she finds 3 pieces of paper on the back staircase. So she reads them, and the note goes as follows. Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. We respect your business, but not the country it serves. At this time, we have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed, and if you want her to see 1997, you must follow our instructions to the letter. You will withdraw $118,000 from your account. $100,000 will be in $100 bills, and the remaining $18,000 will be in $20 bills. Make sure that you bring an adequate size attaché to the bank. When you get home, you will put the money in a brown paper bag. I will call you between 8 and 10 a.m. tomorrow and instruct you on delivery. The delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested. If we monitor you getting home the money early, we might call you early to arrange an earlier delivery of the money and hence an earlier pickup of your daughter. Any deviation of my instructions will result in the immediate execution of your daughter. You will also be denied her remains for proper burial. The 2 gentlemen watching over your daughter do not particularly like you, so I advise you to not provoke them. Speaking to anyone about your situation, such as police, FBI, etc., will result in your daughter being beheaded. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. If you alert bank authorities, she dies. If the money is in any way marked or tampered with, she dies. You will be scanned for electronic devices, and if any are found, she dies. You can try to deceive us, but be warned that we are familiar with law enforcement countermeasures and tactics. You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter. If you try to outsmart us, follow our instructions, and you stand a 100% chance of getting her back. You and your family are under constant scrutiny as well as the authorities. Don't try to grow a brain, John. You are not the only fat cat around, so do not think that killing will be difficult. Don't underestimate us, John. Use that southern common sense of yours. It is up to you now, John. Victory. SBTC. So, as you can tell, that was like the longest ransom note ever.
I hope they spent the time going through the magazines to cut out the little letters for that entire
I wish note. That's how it looked. It would make it... It's just like crazy how like cartoony it sounds. It sounds like straight out of a movie, to me at least. It sounds like who's like, oh, she dies after everything, and like victory, SBTC, those have, no one ever has figured out what that means or anything. It just, who takes the time to write that long of a ransom note just to get money?
And what did they even get out of that? Like, nothing.
Yeah. It has such weird things, like, we respect your business, but not the country it serves. That's such a weird thing to add in there. Like, and like, why him of all people? Like, what did he do? But yeah, whatever.
Like, why not go for the CEO?
Well, like a computer company. Like, why not like a politician or something? If it was like really
someone
country
with more traction, especially because like you said, this was the 90s. How much power did someone with a computer have at that point?
Exactly. It just doesn't make sense, especially in like Boulder, Colorado, of all places. Like, it's just
random. It's
very weird. So yeah. So after this, Patsy reads it. She runs upstairs to JonBenet's room and sees that her daughter's missing. So at 5:52 a.m., Patsy calls 911. So I have like the 911 call here. The gist of it is pretty much that like she is obviously panicking. She's like, she just says the address. She says, "We have a kidnapping, hurry, please," which is really weird to like immediately go to that. Like, why not? I don't know. I guess the ransom note can kind of lead you to believe that, but I don't know.
I'm kind of shocked she called the police.
Yeah, that too.
Because, like, they're probably monitoring your lines.
Mm-hmm. It does make sense. It's like, how do you know that that wouldn't have immediately killed your daughter? Mm-hmm. Like, it's obviously, like, the smarter thing to do. Like, I don't know what would go through my mind.
Just terrified.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I'm not too sure what I would do in that situation, but I mean, especially since the note says specifically, like, she'll die if you do anything. I don't know. I'd take a little bit more precaution. Just, I don't know. That's just me. But yeah, she just goes on to say that there was a ransom note. She says that she's the mother and yeah, just to send someone for help. And so within 2 or 3 minutes of ending the 911 call, she calls her friends and neighbors asking them to come over. Yeah, she, like, her and John are both calling their friends, telling them, like, hey, JonBenet's missing, she's missing, they took her. And so obviously the friends are like, what is going on? And so they are all over the house. They show up to the house, and there's just a bunch of people all over it. And they say that they were passing the ransom note around to read it. Which, like, just thinking back on it, the amount of evidence that they lost is just insane. Like, immediately destroyed any possibility of trying to get any type of evidence or, like, fingerprints or anything, which is really such a shame.
That's so insane. That's the wrong kind of panic to have.
Yeah. You'd think, I mean, I guess forensics wasn't, like, as big back then, but you'd think, like, you at least know that they exist and, like, they are needed. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Different times. But, so the first detective gets there, and they don't tell anyone to leave. So even the police are, like, knowing of what to do. So this was December 26th. So it sounds like they had a lot of the newbies, the new detectives, on scene because it was Christmas, so they pulled the short end of the stick and they had to work Christmas. And so none of them knew what to do in a kidnapping, let alone what led to be a homicide. Like, especially, again, in Boulder, Colorado, nothing happens there, especially at the time. No one knows how to handle this scene, let alone these people that were new. So they didn't search the house. They said that the ransom note left them no reason to believe that JonBenet was anywhere in the house, which is, like, just ridiculous. Like, at the very least, look for something, at least, like, in her room, something. And I think maybe they might have looked in her room, but, like, it's a 15-room mansion. Like, there might be something. But
I wonder how they got in there and took her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Detective Art, the first detective that got there, she sees that John, the father, is just, like, restless, like, being like, what can I do? I need something to do. Like, he's panicking, obviously. And so she asks him to look around the house if he finds anything missing or out of place, and to go from top to bottom. Just, like, I don't know, I guess that's the best way to go through things, you know, like, in order. And John, he decides to go straight to the basement. And he goes into the utility room, and he finds JonBenet's body with a white blanket, her hands tied above her head, and tape over her mouth. So, seeing this, John Ramsey picks her up, takes the tape off of her mouth, drags her upstairs, and takes the blanket and covers her with it. So he ruins any possibility of getting any DNA evidence. It's like just that the blanket itself, like, you don't know where it came from, you don't know who had it or anything, like, just so much evidence destroyed. And so when Patsy sees her daughter, she collapses. In her words, she throws her body over hers and puts her cheek against hers. So, like, just ruining evidence left and right. Yeah. So...
But again, panic, like, this happened really fast. They just found a body.
Yeah. I get what they were doing. But at the very least, it's like a detective's job to, like...
You gotta leave it there.
Yeah. And, like, I don't know. Plus, like, as a parent, you kind of think, like, I gotta get down to business. Like, I gotta figure out what happened. Like, I get seeing your child's body would probably not be the greatest thing in the world, but yeah, it's rough. So with a later autopsy, JonBenet had been found to have been strangled with a garrote, which is like just like a strangulation tool type thing. And she was hit over the head with enormous force, and there was evidence of sexual abuse. So strangulation was found to have been done 45 minutes to 2 hours after she had been hit in the head. So that suggests she might have been knocked out and then strangled to finish her off. So yeah, so
Did they have a time of death then? Did they figure out if it happened, like, before the 911 call? Did they just kill her and fake the ransom note?
I don't think they ever found a time, but I do believe it was before the 911 call. Yeah, I don't think they ever found a time. I might be wrong. I might be super wrong, but yeah. So afterwards, 3 days after the murder, JonBenet's memoriam was held. She was buried in Atlanta. This is where all her family was originally from. Beside her, John's daughter, Beth. This was a child that he had from a previous marriage. And so 5 days after the murder, they appeared on CNN. At this point, they were refusing to talk to the police. So, like, just like Chris Watts, like, he wasn't cooperating. Well, they weren't cooperating. They agreed to give writing, blood, and hair samples, but they weren't giving official interviews with the police. They immediately got lawyers and just set the boundaries. So, yeah, they weren't working with them very well. In 1999, a jury almost indicted JonBenet's parents on charges of child abuse, resulting in death, but the prosecutor, Alex Hunter, at the last second dropped those charges, believing they didn't have enough evidence to charge them. So the jurors believed they did, but not the prosecutor. Now we're going to get into, like, whether it was an outside job, like someone else came in and broke into the house and actually took her, just like the note states, or lots of people believe it's an inside job, because a lot of things lead to there being, like, yeah, it doesn't really make sense. But yeah, so the things that support it being an outside job is, at the time of the murder, roughly 38 registered sex offenders lived within 2 miles of the Ramsey home. Yeah, it's like a lot more than I would think.
Weird.
Yeah.
Especially for a town where nothing happens.
I know. And those are just registered. Like, imagine the ones that aren't. But yeah, and then another thing is that Patsy stated that the house was so large that he being an intruder or something, could have been hiding for a week and they wouldn't have found him. So, yeah, that does make sense. Yeah. Like, 15 rooms, that's a lot. And I'm sure you don't go into every room every day. So, it does make sense.
You'd think, though, you'd have staff.
Yeah.
For a house that big.
There was a housekeeper. I
Okay.
do know there was at least that. I don't know if she had any more helpers or anything.
It was Christmas though, so that would be a good time to have her off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's another thing. It was just like, it was Christmas, so there was like
Weird
just
timing.
such bad timing. Yeah. So Lou Smith was a renowned homicide detective from Colorado Springs that found marks on the body that he believed were caused by a stun gun. So like just little dots. No one really paid attention to these, but he did, and he doesn't really understand a reason for a stun gun to be needed by the Ramseys, because she was already in the house. Like they were in the house. Why would they need to stun her to take her to the basement? Like all the parents would have to do was ask their daughter to go to the basement. So yeah, he rules them out as suspects. DNA evidence was found inside of JonBenet's underwear and her long johns. John Burke and all of the other suspects believed to be intruders, they didn't match this DNA. And so some people speculate that this might have been just like a factory worker's DNA, you know, like the people that make the underwear. So it's a possibility, but
Not for that long though, I feel like, after shipping and
I don't know if it would be
handling from other
brand
people.
new also, like if she had washed them or anything. So yeah, just
New
some
Christmas PJs.
Maybe, yeah. So 2 sets of unidentified footprints were found at the scene. I didn't find out where these were found. But yeah, they obviously weren't John's or anything, since, you know, they had his shoes. They could easily test that. Also, a rope near JonBenet's bedroom was found that did not belong to the Ramseys. But as of 2006, the rope had never been tested. So it could have been anyone's. Like, they didn't look into that. And lastly, DNA evidence found at the crime scene officially exonerated the entire Ramsey family. But a lot of forensic specialists disagree with that claim. I believe a politician sent out and made that statement, and they didn't really back her up. I think it was one specific type of evidence that exonerated them, but they couldn't say conclusively that all of the evidence states that they are no longer suspects.
Okay.
But it is in writing, so some people believe that they had nothing to do with it.
Interesting.
So the things that support that, it's an inside job. Obviously, ransom notes aren't that long. Why? People don't write 2.5 pages to ask for money. Like, that's, I don't know.
Extra.
Yeah, it's too much for me, at least. So in the ransom note, how it says they want $118,000, it was close to the exact amount that John's bonus was that year. So why would they know not only the amount of money his bonus was, but why didn't they ask for like $1 million or something? They had a 15-room mansion. They came from a lot of money. Why not ask for more? And why such a specific amount? Like, why not 100,000 on the dot? I don't know. Anyways, later in an interview with the detective that was on scene, she states that she says she held her holster close to her body because she didn't know if they would all be alive when people showed up. And this is in response to John finding his daughter's body. Just the way that he acted around her made her uneasy. But at the same time, I don't know if that's her covering her tracks, since she's gotten so much scrutiny over the years, because a lot of this was on the police and the detective. Like, they could have done a much better job. So maybe she's trying to get herself out of the limelight.
Right.
But it also is kind of weird to make a cop uneasy. So, yeah, that's just something that I found. Once John found his daughter, he was on the phone with his pilot asking him to arrange a flight out to Atlanta as soon as possible. And he says that this is because he didn't have a place to stay. He wanted to go home.
That is such a weird reaction.
Yeah, to finding your daughter's dead body. You would think that you'd, like, want to figure things out, but I don't know. Maybe it was a fight or flight response. I don't know. But I think it's strange. So yeah, like I said, they lured up immediately. They agreed to give handwriting, hair, and blood samples, but refused official interviews with the police. So, again, I can understand not wanting to be thought of as suspects, but...
That's also such a weird statement, because I feel like in this situation, if this were to happen today, they would be taken in for questioning.
Uh-huh.
It wouldn't be like, hey, do you want to come do
an
interview?
option.
You're going to get handcuffed into this room until you talk.
Yeah, it's very strange. And you'd think that they'd want to clear their names as soon as possible. And even, at least I'm thinking, like, in my perspective, if my child was murdered, I wouldn't care about being a suspect. I would want to do whatever I can to have them found.
All of the knowledge that I have.
Yeah.
Every piece of evidence I had. Yeah.
Yeah, but
there are so many weird things about this case that aren't lining up.
Yeah. And so, but again, I've never had a child murdered or anything, so I don't know how they would react, and everyone reacts differently. I'm just trying to be unbiased, but it's just very hard because so much evidence just doesn't make sense.
It just points right to them.
Yeah. There was also no evidence of a break-in. No door was tampered with. No window was crashed in. Nothing. It looked normal. But
there you have it. It was someone on the inside.
Yeah, but there was, in the utility room, there was a window that was broken.
Okay.
And so it couldn't lock. And there was a suitcase under the window. And so some people say that it would be easy for someone to open the hatch, like the storm drain, get in the window, and go through the house that way. And, it's a big place, so they could maybe go unnoticed for a little while. So there is that. But, I wouldn't know exactly where to look for an entrance in a house that big. Just me.
It's like, all right, give the parents the benefit of the doubt here. And, okay, some random intruder wants to kidnap your daughter and write a ransom note that's 10 pages long. Ask for the specific amount of your bonus. Go and stake you guys out for long enough that you have access to their phone lines. You know where the utility door is. You know where that leads, what room that goes into, in this huge mansion. You know exactly how to get in and out of the house without being noticed. And you did it on Christmas. You knew that the cops would be new people. Like, there's so many things where if this was an outside job, this would be a very strategic and strange crime to commit. Yeah,
see, that's like such an easy way to put it. Like, it's just so many coincidences that lined up that
there's no way.
Yeah, it's like if I were an intruder, I would go to the front door, and if that didn't work, I'd be like, well, shit, like, I don't know where else to go. Like, especially like this big of a mansion, how do you know what windows lead to where, and how do you know that there's not, like, I don't know if there were alarm systems back then, but like, at least back like then. Someone
20 years ago.
Yeah, 20 years ago. I don't know. But yeah.
Like, I get staking out a house. I can understand them figuring out how to get in through that door, possibly, and then maybe exploring the house. But I don't know why you wouldn't ask for more, or keep it really simple.
Yeah.
I have your daughter bring this much money to this spot. If you don't comply.
There's also, so I guess their house was in this like parade of lights type thing where the houses, like they decorate really well in the houses, and you just like go around houses in the neighborhood and yeah, just like look at their decorations and stuff. And so their house was part of that, and so they had a lot of people in their homes that they might have not like super known, like been really close to or anything. So I guess there is a possibility that like a stranger walked in
And just
explored. Oh, that too, I guess, but I don't know how far along it was from the date. But yeah, at least explored to know what rooms they could hide in, or like if there was a faulty window or anything. But yeah, again,
still
it's
random
a little
amount of money.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I thought. I'm like, why did you pick that amount?
Yeah.
And then you saying that was his bonus, like, oh,
yeah,
ding. Was it a random intern that had access to?
Yeah, that too. Also, so the paper that was the ransom note was written on, it was taken out of one of Patsy's notebooks. So it suggests that they wrote the note inside of the house. So
someone like pulled up a chair and wrote.
Yeah. See, it's like ridiculous. It's like you'd have to be crazy bold to like, I don't know, like sit at the dining room table, like get the fireplace going, like
I guess
write
it
a
was
ransom
Christmas though. Like you walk downstairs. Who are you? They're like eating cookies and milk.
Santa.
Santa Claus.
Yeah, and there was also, so you know how like when you write hard on like a piece of paper, the bottom leaves like marks. The marks on the bottom of that insinuated that they had written a rough draft of this note, and there was also a piece of the rough draft found in the trash. So it's like they not only did they write this note, they did it twice.
You're like, man, this isn't good enough. I don't think it really gets the message across.
It needs some pizzazz in there.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so there's that. Also, the paintbrush that was a part of the garrote that was made to strangle JonBenet was out of Patsy's art supplies. It was their paintbrush. And fibers from the blazer that Patsy wore that night on Christmas were found on the duct tape over JonBenet's mouth. And a way to like try to get her out of this is that she was wearing that same blazer the day that she was found. And also she lives in the house. Maybe there were fibers around that ended up on
this
there.
criminal like snooped through the house and notebooks and art supplies.
Maybe
they were like trying on the clothes, walking around in their expensive wardrobe.
They like got dressed up for the murder and everything. Yeah. So the older brother, Burke, he was questioned by a child psychologist, and there's been an interview with him recently that states that like it's recent, so he's much older now, and people watched the interview, and I watched it too, and he does come off very strange. Like he laughs his way through telling it's with Dr. Phil. He tells him like how his sister got murdered, and he laughs through it all and everything. And it's like, I get that people process things differently, especially having something like that happen to you so young. I'm sure it messes you up, but like it is strange, and people just have found that strange. And so there's video recording of of Burke when he was much younger. And so in this video, he says, I know what happened to my sister. She was killed. I think that someone took her very quietly and took her down to the basement, and he took a knife out and he whoops like that. And when he goes whoops, he motions a stabbing, like stabbing someone. And then he goes, probably a hammer, hit her in the head with it. And so, I don't know. I don't know how 9-year-olds react to murder, but yeah, that's just something that he said. So also no footsteps were found in the snow outside of the house.
Okay.
So again, people think maybe snow covered it. It's Colorado. I don't know, but like, I don't know. I don't
Possible.
think that like, at least like I've stepped in snow in Colorado and it's been there for quite some time.
But if they were in there like a night or two before, I feel like it may have been that way. Because especially if it snows like for an hour.
Yeah.
That covers most of it.
Yeah. Especially if they've been there for longer than just to get her.
Right.
And although handwriting experts ruled out John from writing the note, Patsy's handwriting was considered inconclusive. And again, handwriting is not an exact science at all.
Right.
You can't be like charged with a crime just by handwriting, but it is something that people use to incriminate people.
Well, especially if it wasn't like exact, but you could tell it was like this person wrote it and then maybe just wrote it differently than they normally would.
There are very specific things that the note has that are consistent with Patsy's. You can like find on the 2020 there's like a little clip of this expert showing the like nuances of the note and Patsy's handwriting. But yeah, again, it's possible that they just had really similar handwritings.
Yeah, evidence like that I think I tend to rule out in my head.
Yeah, I mean, I think recently it's been found that fibers are also not that conclusive.
Okay.
So
forensics is hard.
Yeah.
It's a lot of guesswork. And
Yeah.
doesn't really end up working most of the time, I feel like.
Well, just like the law in general, having to trust people's statements and everything,
Yeah.
like it's so
because forensics
non-scientific.
is what screwed up that Amanda Knox girl over in Europe.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
Sorry. So we'll start off with other suspects. So saying that this was an intruder that got in. So the first one is a man that played Santa at the Ramseys' Christmas parties. And so his name is Bill McReynolds. His own daughter was kidnapped in 1974. So it's pretty sad. But also it's kind of strange how like so closely related like they were. Like, I don't know. I don't know too many people that have been kidnapped, so yeah, that was strange for some people, for the police enough to suspect him. His wife had also written a play about a child being molested then murdered in a basement. And the Bill McReynolds stated that her murder was harder on me than my operation. She made a profound change in me. He carried a vial of glitter that JonBenet gave to him into heart surgery. Which is, those last two statements are just pretty weird, but there's nothing else to pin him to anything, no DNA or anything. They are very strange, but yeah, nothing else was found to be able to charge him.
could just be a weirdo.
Yeah, just be a strange old man. So the next suspect was Gary Olivia. He lived a few blocks away from the Ramsey home, and he was charged with possessing child pornography. And then in 2000, he was arrested for drug charges. And when they were searching him, when police were searching him, a backpack he had carried a picture of JonBenet. To that, he stated, JonBenet's murder touched me very deeply. I felt she was an exceptional girl whose death was an exceptional loss. I felt a need to build a monument, a shrine to remember this little girl. Yeah, so it's very strange.
So he could just be a creeper.
Yeah. And so a high school friend of his stated that he called him the night after the murder and said, I heard a little girl. And he also said that he hurt her in Boulder, Colorado. And this is from someone that claims to be his high school friend.
Weird.
So it's never been proven, but it's also never been unproven. He also tried to strangle his own mother with a cord, similar to how JonBenet was strangled. So yeah, the last one was John Mark Carl. He stated, I love JonBenet and she died accidentally. And when he was asked if he was innocent, he stated no. He was an American living in Thailand who confessed to killing JonBenet. He was a teacher. And DNA did not match up. He was believed to have made a false confession. And when detectives looked into him, they found that he wasn't even in Colorado at the time. So it's just a very strange one. That one was probably just for publicity or something, but...
Yeah, how weird that you would try to confess to murder just for fun.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people that do that, and I just don't know what goes through their minds. Just, like, wanting the attention.
It's like the Ted Bundy effect. You want people to talk about you.
Yeah.
You want people to love you and cherish you.
Yeah. Strange.
Creepies.
People are insane. Yeah, and so we're going to get into the theories of what happened, because obviously this case is still unsolved. It's still a cold case, although they're still trying to work on it.
Really?
It's, at least in 2017, I believe, they were still trying to work on some things, but...
Maybe 23andMe will link somebody.
Yeah, we'll see, since it's gotten so many other people. But the theories, so the first one is, like, obviously an intruder comes in, just like the note says, wants money, takes the daughter, probably saw her from her competitions, and takes her and kills her. Probably maybe sexually motivated, things like that. Yeah, so that's the first theory, just an outside job, random, not random, planned, very planned. So another theory is that it was very random. It was just someone that broke into the house, took this person, said that they wanted money, or like made it very strange, and yeah, just ended up murdering a little girl. The main one that links Patsy to it is that Patsy, so JonBenet, she was a bedwetter. She used to wet the bed a lot, and so they were, the main theory is that Patsy accidentally killed JonBenet, and JonBenet comes to her and says that she wet the bed, and Patsy was frustrated, and she hit her in the head by accident, and she ended up dead. So that's
How old was she again?
She was 6.
Okay.
So she is little, but I don't know. That'd have to be like a lot of force to be able to like
do you keep
knock
a
a child
hammer
out
under your pillow for intruders and smack
Yeah.
the kid?
Yeah. I'm not too sure how that goes, but yeah, that's just a theory that people say that Patsy killed her. And so the last theory is Burke. So people found it interesting that Burke stayed in bed during all of this. He, like, all of the police coming, the 911, the Patsy screaming and everything, he was asleep. And so police found a heavy-duty flashlight, that was supposedly not the Ramseys or anything. And on the dining room table, there was a bowl of pineapples and milk, which was JonBenet's favorite dessert. And so in JonBenet's autopsy, they found undigested pineapple in her stomach, which is weird because they said that they put, the parents put the two children to bed straight away from the party. So it's like, why would she have pineapple in her stomach? I don't know. Maybe she ate it at the party. Whatever. But they believe that there might be Patsy might have eaten some pineapple with Burke. And Burke was known to have a bit of anger issues. And so he did used to hit JonBenet a little bit. And I don't know, I guess that's kind of normal for siblings. You know, they get rough sometimes. But the theory is that Patsy and Burke were eating pineapple. JonBenet comes downstairs. She wants some, eats some. She does something to make Burke mad. Burke takes the flashlight, hits her over the head with it, and JonBenet gets knocked out. And Patsy, not knowing or anything, maybe thinks that Burke killed her. And since her child, JonBenet, is already dead, maybe she is thinking, well, we can't lose both our children. I don't want that. And therefore starts to cover for him. So she writes a note saying that it's a ransom, that she's been kidnapped, takes her, goes downstairs, hides her body, hides evidence the most she can. And yeah, they just pretend that an intruder killed their daughter. I don't know what the strangulation part comes in, because that is said to be the last thing that actually killed her. Some people think that maybe they used it like as to make it seem like it was something else to deter the flashlight being the thing that killed her, and then they accidentally ended up killing her for good. And yeah, so they think that maybe Burke did it, and that would explain why he's so strange up to this day, why he laughs through things, why he just seems to still not really be over it. But
that's
again,
an interesting one.
Yeah.
Where things like don't quite match up. It's like everybody's just grasping for straws at this point, trying to figure it out.
Yeah, people just want someone to blame it on.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I don't know who did it.
What do you think? What's the most plausible one based on evidence?
I think I can see Burke's the most.
Really?
Yeah, just because I can very much understand like a parent being like, I can't lose both my children. Mm-hmm. I think that's something that I could really understand, compared to someone that like a mom the kid wets her bed and just hits her and like bam, it's done. Yeah. Or like just one of the parents doing it randomly. It seems like they really cared about their daughter, especially the pageantry thing. It obviously, at least Patsy probably cared about her a lot. Some people say that she might not have. She might have been jealous of all the things that her daughter had gained and she couldn't have. But I don't know. I can see like a little boy accidentally getting angry. The outside intruder, I guess, sometimes things like coincidences end up happening, but I don't know, like you said, it is a lot of coincidences, a lot of work that would have had to be done for this girl. But at the same time, she was a very well-known girl. Maybe someone was trying to get her specifically.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It would suck for it to just be some creepy old man that ended up taking her life. So, I think that's another reason why I see Burke. Because there's, like, it's at least, like, not intentional. So, I don't know. What do you think from just hearing about this?
I feel like the Burke theory has some traction. I feel like I would see it differently. Maybe, like, he did hit her over the head and it did kill her. But then at that point, trying to cover it up, they decided to strangle her to make it look like it was an outside intruder.
I think that there is a theory that includes the strangulation part, but because like I forgot it.
Yeah, it's so hard to try to put it together because everything is just random.
Yeah, and like I said, all the evidence was so it's been destroyed. Any little piece that they had,
purposeful.
Yeah,
especially since John went through it before.
Yeah, that too.
Like,
my gosh.
He has been through the process and he knows how it works.
I think his daughter before was killed in a motor vehicle accident.
Okay.
So it is different.
But still along police lines, talking to police.
You know what they're looking
evidence,
for.
Not moving the bodies. Like, really simple stuff.
Yeah. You know not to hug your daughter and grab her and, like, pass notes around and things like that. At least, I don't know. Weird. I don't know the mind of a panicked parent, but I don't know. That's
interesting.
The theories. Yeah, so that is the murder of JonBenet Ramsey, one of the bigger cold cases, especially in Colorado. And it is a very strange one. I think it's, like, very glamorous.
Yeah.
It has a lot of things that make this a big story. So
it's very appealing to try to pull these layers off.
Yeah, and there's obviously a lot of people trying to come up with theories for it. Thank you so much for listening to the Eerie Theories podcast.
If you want to hear more of us, go ahead and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Also, give us a follow on Twitter at Eerie_theory and let us know what topics you'd like to hear on our show.
We'll see you next time on Eerie Theories.